Alright, in this lesson we've done the Cornell notes. You've had a few practice problems, but I want to give you a few additional problems to help you out and get started. Let's look at number 1 for instance. And so of course with this way I'm going to show you, and we're going to solve this by writing a proportion and solving the problem, but I'm going to do it the way that's my favorite way of approaching it. And I work from left to right, and I put the height on top and I put the length of the base on bottom. So let me show you what I mean. For instance, in this particular one, in number 1, it says, how tall is Becky? Notice that my height is what I'm looking for. They give you a height of a similar figure, and it even tells you that the triangles are going to be similar. So what I like to do is say, okay, my heights are all going to go on top, and then my lengths of my base, so I'm going to put B for base, is going to go on the bottom. With that being said, I'm going to set it up like this. H is equal to 3. Now I'm going to deal with the bases, and I'm going to go from left to right. 7 is equal to 4. So notice that I have my height equal to this height, and then for the base I have this base equal to this base. Notice that the h and the 7 are both from the first figure, h and 7, and that it's set equal to another proportion, which is my second figure, 3 over 4. So now that I've got this done, we can either use inverse operations to solve this, or you could cross multiply it, which is basically just doing inverse operations, or you could go ahead and use numerical solve. So what I'm going to go ahead and do on this one is I'm going to go ahead, we'll use numerical solve as soon as I get through doing it by hand first. It won't take me but just a second. So if I'm going to go ahead and work this out, I'm going to move my 7 up here, I'm going to move my 4 over here, and I end up with 4h, I'm going to rewrite it, is equal to 3 times 7, and 3 times 7 is 21. Then if I go ahead and try to isolate my h, remember when you get the variable by itself, and I have h is equal to 5.25. So I like doing it this way by hand. I'm used to doing it by hand. I think you should practice it that way, but you can always double check your work if you did the inverse operations, and then you can determine whether or not you got it right, just to make sure you didn't make any multiplication errors or anything like that. So let's go ahead and use our calculators to see that we can get the same answer using InSolve. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and put that original proportion that I wrote. I'm going to go ahead and put it in InSolve. So I'm going to hit Menu, Algebra, Option 1, which is Numerical Solve. And I'm going to go ahead and put H, then fraction bar, because it's H over 7, is equal to 3 over 4. So I'm going to put a 3, put another fraction bar, put my 4, and then I'm going to put a comma and put h, because that's what we're solving for, is the height. We're trying to find h. Hit enter, and it tells me it's 5.25. And that's the same thing that I found by hand, and you can do it either way, but I would recommend always checking it with InSolve after you do your work, just to make sure that you got the correct answer and you didn't make a simple mistake. Alright, what we're going to do now, we're going to look at one more. I'm going to move this up. We're going to look at number 6. And on number 6, I'm not going to solve it for you, but I am going to go ahead and help you set up the proportion, just to make sure that you remember how to do it, and give you a little extra practice. So it says, how far is the entrance to the gymnasium from the band room? Notice it gives us, we have these two similar triangles, right? And they're connected. Right here, we can look and see we have a set of vertical angles right here. And if you notice, this double angle over here is over here. And then we have this angle right here matches this angle right here. So now that we know this, let's go ahead and set this up. So what they're giving us is they're saying this is D, and that's what we're trying to solve for, because we want to know the distance from the gymnasium to the band room. Here's our band room right here, and here's our gymnasium right here. So we want to know what D is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, so those are my bases of my triangle. So I'm going to have my bases on the bottom, and then the side length that they give me. Notice that if I'm going to look at my angle relationship, this is a single angle and this is a triple. This is a single and this is a triple. So that tells me this side of the triangle is in a relationship with this side of the triangle. And I'm going to call that my side length. So I'm just going to separate the two. So what I'll do here is, let me draw an arrow. I'm going to say 25 is equal to 30. So 25 is equal to 30. And now I want to do my bases. And remember, I want to keep these set up to where both measurements from a single figure are on one side of the equation, and then the other two are on the other side of the equation. So I have a 25 here, so I'm going to put my base of 32 that goes with it right here. So I have 25 and 32. And then on my other figure, I have a 30. There's my 30, and I'm going to put my D. So now I have the proportion set up. So you can go ahead and use numerical solve, or you can do this by hand. I'd recommend doing it both ways to get that practice and determine what the distance is and write your answer. If you have any questions or need any additional help, just raise your hand and I'll come over and help you out.